there's no interest for Israel to starve the civilian people that are there. So this is part of the really
election year. Is it part of the? Is it an election year trick by the Biden administration to appease anti-Israel voters within the Democratic Party?
Well, I think the president is making a mistake. President, by appeasing members of the far leftist party or anti-Israel, would make sense if he was running in a primary. He's running unopposed. The president needs to get into general election mode. The general election mode means that he needs to appeal to moderates and independents. By the president pandering to the far left, that undermines him with the people he needs to win in a general election. And so what the president should do, and by the way, it's good politics because still the majority of Americans sympathize with Israel and its plight, is to say to his far left base, hey, you know, I understand there's terrible problems there, but American security interests are going to stand with Israel. And that would be equivalent to if people, older viewers can remember what President Clinton did in 1992. It was called his sister soldier moment, where he attacked somebody on his far left, sister soldier, who basically said there should be a week where white people are killed. And it was so outrageous. He attacked his left and it positioned him in the center. So on a purely political level, the president should stand bed with Israel. Pandering to anti-Israel people of his far left will hurt him in being elected.
You know, Eric, you don't have only experience on the Hill. You're also, you know, a veteran speaker when it comes to U.S. college campuses. And I got to ask you from a commonsensical perspective. Here is the state of Israel, a liberal, modern democracy that is the spearhead of American interests and Western values in the region and across the world. And on the other hand, you have a savage, vile terrorist organization that massacred, raped, and abducted innocent people from their beds on a Saturday morning. And continuously, reports keep on coming out about the cruelty in the course of that day, and of course, towards the hostages, whether they were released or still there. How come this is even a struggle when it comes to the field of public opinion? When you have people on college campuses or on general, you know, global media outlets looking at this and, you know, drawing parallels between Israel and those people, or talking about supporting those people as opposed to supporting Israel. What is this gap from? What's the reason for this? Something that needs to be, you know, so easy on its face has become so difficult for so many people. Why is that, Eric?
So this didn't happen post-October 7th. We're dealing with a few generations, 20, 25, 30 years that there has been Israel. Israel has become a victimizer. Israel's an oppressor. It's a colonialist. It has stolen other people's land. It's the only country in the world that its right to exist is questioned. And on college campuses, this intersectionality that victims have to align with victims. And that is what is in. So if you are a minority on campus, you know, Black Lives Matter, Palestinian lives matter. But when you really think about it, the media and do not do us any favors, because they are, when they say these protests, they're pro-Palestinian. They're anti-Palestinian. They are pro-Hamas. And that's what you pointed out. Because if you really care about the Palestinian people, the rally should be about Hamas surrendering and let the Palestinian people have a future.
Correct.
So is really, you know, what the problem is. But we're dealing, and one of the big things, and there's so much, this is a whole other conversation, the divestment, equity, and inclusion departments that are in academic campuses and corporations, academia, and have become the spear of anti-Semitism. Anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism are, according to International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition, they're one in the.
You know, it brings to my mind a sticker I saw the other day on one of the Ivy League campuses that said, "Rape is resistance." Unbelievable. And these are supposedly people who believe in, you know, liberal principles and liberal ideologies and woke ideology, and then by any means necessary, it kind of boggles the mind and the heart.
Yes, it does. And unfortunately, there are I'll say somewhat, they call themselves Jewish groups, like Jewish Voice for Peace.
Yeah.
Say, I'm Jewish, so I can't be anti-Semitic.
Right.
Fringe groups are given prominence as a cover for blatant, and as I say, my friend Judea Pearl from California, whose son was killed, Daniel Pearl, says, Eric, it's not anti-Semitism. This is Jew hatred.
Right.
And that's what we're really dealing with. October 7th seemed to give license to mainstream and say in public things that we never said before about hating Jews and attacking them. And what goes on campuses, getting rid of the college presidents, that's just the beginning. It is so much deeper. All of a sudden, free speech is now important. Before, but they were chasing, pro-Israel speakers off of campuses.
Right.
They're defending people who defend Hamas, saying that's free speech. Before, microaggressions, a tiny little insult perceived as you basically will be suspended. But now macroaggressions against Jewish students are tolerated. It is deep. And basically, if anybody are major funders to universities, don't threaten to withhold money to university. Stop it now.
Right.
And then say it will only come back if X, Y, and Z happen. Threatening doesn't work. It has to be actually. And the government has to enforce Title VI to protect Jewish students like every other student in the country.
It's quite worrying to think about where we reached. And you're right to call out Professor Pearl. He always repeats that xenophobia has become such a terrible phenomenon. I